So what exactly does it mean to be an ENFJ? Like I mentioned in a previous video, is that there aren't that many of us on the internet explaining who we are and what we do. So I just wanted to even though I already have a couple videos of me talking about the stereotypes, I wanted to make more of just an informative, educational video about what it means to be an ENFJ. So, for ENFJs, our dominant function is extroverted feeling, our aux function is introverted intuition, our tertiary is extraverted sensing, and our inferior is introverted thinking. So that means our autopilot mode is extroverted feeling. So whenever I was a child, so extroverted feeling is outwardly directed feeling. It's objective, and it's breadth over depth. ENFJs, you won't find that we don't get butthurt about things. Sorry, FI users, that's just the phrase that I think people are using for FI now. I don't pout. FE users don't get all sad and sad. Like, obviously, if something really bad happens to us, we'd react to it, but we don't. It's not an internal sensation. I think that one of the best descriptions or the best things that make me think of extroverted feeling is utilitarianism and social utility. I very much like John Stuart Mill and utilitarianism, if anyone has read about that. But basically, it's all about the output. It's all about what am I trying to say? It's all about the response. If your action merits a good response, then that was a good action. And by good response, I mean, I want to do whatever makes people happy. I want to do whatever will brighten someone's day, or, make society be the best that it could be. But I'm not going to. It's not a deep moral drive. It's you try a bunch of different things, you see what works, and you do what works. So it's a lot like TE in a way. FE and TE both are concerned with results. They're both concerned with getting things done. TE is more impersonal, but FE knows how to get things done in terms of people. So as a child, I would be really upset if a friend couldn't come over when I wanted them to. But I wasn't upset because I'm so lonely. I would be upset because they said that they were going to, and then they bailed last minute. FE really understands what FE understands why societies work the way they do. I think that sociology is very much an NFJ profession or interest, because we analyze social structures, and FE is a rational way of doing things. So even though it's a feeling function, which I get is really confusing, because it is objective, it's not subjective, like FI or TI. It is looking out there into the world and deciding which actions will create the most good. And that's what ENFJs, that's our default function. Our default function is wanting a group to be happy. We tend to want to hang out in groups. We tend to want to feel like we're part of a community. These are huge things. We probably like hosting parties, but only if we know that everyone's going to get along. We don't like to host parties with a bunch of people that don't like each other, because then we're going to feel like it's our place to make everyone happy. And it's not because we think that it is our job, but we're more comfortable in environments that are happy. So why would we not try and make them better? And I don't know, I hear a lot of people being like, oh, relax, like it's not your place to cheer them up, but it is my place whenever my default function is harmony. And if I'm not in harmony, then I'm not happy. Like, extroverted feeling feels other people's emotions as their own. It's hard for us to know what it is that we're feeling and what it is that someone else is feeling. Like the other day, I was in a group of friends, and my ENFP friend got mad because a guy she liked did something. And she just got up and left. And I was mad that she just left all of us sitting there confused while she was crying and not describing what it was that she was upset about. She left her stuff all over, and it wasn't even my house, but I was upset because I was upset for my friends that lived there that now had to worry about what time were they going to go to bed because they didn't know what time she was coming back. Like, even though I personally didn't have any personal feelings towards it, I picked up the group's feelings, and that's what I went with. I always go with what the group says. And when you say it like that, it sounds like we're sheep. And maybe some of us are if you're really a weak person, but I honestly think that it's more of an ESFJ thing to care more about what society says because they have SI, which brings me to our next function, Introverted Intuition. Our intuition comes from within, but it's also subjective. So we can get into the trap where we think that the way we see things is the way that everyone else sees things. I think that it's more likely for ENFJs to be liberal, but because we're very NI is very progressive and very forward thinking. But whether you're liberal or conservative, I'd be willing to bet that if you use NI, that you are kind of stuck in your own perspective a little bit. I think that healthy NI users like to go out in the world and when they use their SE or third function and see more of what is the complete picture of what's going on here. But if you're an NI user, you feel very strongly deep down what perspective is the right perspective, and we stick to that. We're kind of loyal about that in a way. I think NI, we can be kind of obsessive about things. Whenever we find something we like, truly, it just vibes with us really deep down. Now, I guess I also want to talk about the combination of FE and NI too, before I was planning on going down through all four functions and how we use those. But I always like to describe, like, if I'm walking down the street, my feelings are going to fluctuate based on the people around me and who's there. And, like, if I'm, like, walking down, like, a crowded mall, it's the combination of NI and FE that does this, because NI is very sensitive. FE isn't what's sensitive about us. It's the NI that picks up every little vibe that you could possibly get. This makes us just feel weird for no reason and not know why. If we were an FI user, we would maybe know, like, why we felt weird more of the time, but a lot of it comes from our intuition. Like, lately, I just feel like there's something really weird going on in the universe. I go to University of Missouri, and that's why I'm sitting by these columns right now, and there's just a lot of racist actions going on here. I don't really want to talk about this for long, but basically, a lot of weird shit is going on, and my NI is just like, holy cow, like, I don't know how to adjust to this. And when there's just so much change, like, so much energy shifts, like, NI is the function that is always trying to know why. I like to think, okay, so our third function is extroverted sensing, and extroverted sensing looks at things at face value. Extroverted sensing is the function that makes ENFJs able to get in the zone and be forceful and powerful. And like, I look at this cup and SE says, this is a cup. SE just is able to look at things simply, which is why ENFJs are good at, when they have developed SE, able to explain things simply to people. But NI looks at this cup and is like, why? And it's not, I like to think that NE is the function that says, like, what if, but NI asks why. So whenever I'm like, why, like, I look at this cup and I want to know, like, why, who drew this, and, like, is there, like, some sort of, like, is there some sort of way to submit your writing to this, because each cup is different, and why is their business model that way, and why does it work so well? And, like, that's why NI, like, SE is like, oh, wow, Chipotle is really popular. And NI is like, what are they doing in their business that is made them just, why do I want to eat it every day? Like, and NI asks, why? And it's really actually stressful for us ENFJs to have to live life when we don't know why, when we don't know our purpose. NI is very focused on purpose and what's going to happen next. And also, I just realized recently that NE users don't do this as much. Maybe some of you do, I don't know. But I guess this is an NI thing where right before I'm about to go somewhere, I'll just kind of picture it in my head. Like, my friend's like, oh, do you want to go to this party? I'll, like, picture what the party will look like. And if I don't think it seems like really fun, I won't want to go. But I don't know, like, my ENFP friend was telling me that this guy she met at a tailgate invited her to a party. Let's go. And I was like, you don't have fun at those sorts of parties. And she's like, how do you know what the party's even going to be like? And I was like, well, you see, it's going to be a bunch of stupid college kids that are probably younger than us. And they're probably playing beer pong, and they're probably dancing to terrible music, and they're probably really superficial, and probably you won't have any friends there, and maybe there'll be some douchebag guys to talk to. And she was just like, holy shit, you're right. And, like, was so shocked that I pictured, like, social events before I went to them. But I think that's very much FE and NI. I want to wrap this up. Basically, yeah, our TI is the function that allows us to just really dive in to knowledge. And I think that ENFJs, we are good at school because our NI sees the consequences if we aren't good at school. But we aren't naturally, we don't like the whole show your work thing, which is more TE. Our TI, but I think that we have a hard time, like, studying too, because our inferior TI wants to know everything before it makes a conclusion. But once it knows what it knows, we're very opinionated. Like, I don't know if I've ever met an ENFJ that wasn't opinionated. They either, because TI doesn't pretend to know what it doesn't know and what it hasn't thought about before. I think ENFJs are really good at explaining, like, oh, well, you see, I don't have all the relevant information, so I can't make a judgment yet. They'll, like, very much tell you what we don't know. But then when we know it, we don't even like to, if we don't think that we're going to be able to change their mind, we probably won't want to talk to them about it. Because that's our weakness, is being able to explain logically how we got from one step to the other. But when we do use our TI, it's very deep. Like, I am interested in philosophy and that sort of thing. And I feel like that's pretty common for ENFJs to really want to think deeply about things, think about our place in the world, think about how things have happened that are different. And especially with our NI and TI, like, whenever I am alone, I'm very much, like, kind of looping back and forth about our place in society, what that means, especially since NI asks why and TI wants to know the process. So it's just really kind of intense. And that's why I hate that people think that ENFJs are just sheep that want to please people, because that's just not true. In our minds, we see everything, and we try and know everything. At least I do. At least I think I have a pretty overactive TI that I got from dating a TI user. And yeah, one great thing about that. But now I just think too much. I've always been called an overthinker. I think a lot of ENFJs are overthinkers. Because we don't know when to just trust ourselves once we've made a conclusion. So, yeah, that's a little bit about ENFJs.